Hey everybody, welcome back to Woodworking Wisdom. My name's Colwin Way, and today we're making thimbles. Really inspired by an aunt of mine, or no, a mutual aunt of mine and my wife's actually. We used to call her Aunt May. Used to dye in the whole family's socks. Now, Vicky being of Irish descent, there was a lot in her family, so there's a lot of socks to dye in. And whenever you had a hole in your sock, you gave it to your Aunt May, and she'd repair it for you. Don't see that anymore, really. But going back to my production days again, thimbles are something that we made all the time because it was really popular pastime. Any needlework was, and I'm only talking about 40 years ago, but it seems to, well, certainly for me, it seemed to have dropped off a little bit. So I have said before that back when I started as an apprentice, we used to use lots of other materials apart from timber. Obviously, timber was the main one, but lots of other natural materials, things like jade and jet, antler and horn, all sorts of things. And they all had their own sort of way of working. Nowadays, we've got modern equivalents to a lot of these materials. We've got things like polyester resin and acrylics and those sorts of things as well. And nuts, tagua nuts, and that, the natural products. So what I thought I would do is, first of all, we're going to go through a wooden thimble just to show you the process, and then we're going to get you to pick. I've got two materials here. I've got an acrylic and I've got a piece of antler. It's a naturally shed antler, so don't worry, no animals were harmed when doing this. They're naturally shed antlers. They're actually sold for dog chews, and I get these from the local farm supplies. So we literally, if I can just show you very quickly, I've cut this one up. I've done one already because I had a request from a lady who collects thimbles to do four thimbles, and one of them was antler. So there you go. That's the raw state. I've just cut it up. Now, the nibs of antler is solid. You go too far back and you get like a honeycomb center to it. It's quite porous. But this is where we're starting with this one. If you're interested in one of those, I have that. I also have some of the polyester resin. This is actually imitation tortoise shell. Okay, so this will actually be clear. Well, not clear, but it will be translucent when it's finished. And I've done quite a few of these. Later on, when we get closer to that wonderful part of the year, I should be making some Christmas bells out of the polyester just to show you that it can be done. So yeah, there's a couple of options there. I do want to do the wood one first. It's just a little bit easier, and I want to get the process done for you before we go on to those alternative materials. So I'm going to let Ben keep a look at the chat. So if you can just put your preference down, whether you wanted to see a polyester resin or whether you want to see antler turned. Let Ben know. He's on the chat. He's doing the questions for us today. He's got his hand up at the moment. So he'll then take a note which one is the most popular. Ben, you got a question?
Hi, yeah. Got a question from Rex B here. He's asking what types of wood are best for thimbles, but in the US.
In the US, not having a massive knowledge of US timbers, I would say the same thing I would say to anybody anywhere in the world. Go for the timbers that are dense, the harder timbers. You know, if we start talking things like thread chasing, that sort of stuff, then go for those timbers, the denser ones. So for instance, I've got a piece here of kingwood, so exotics. And again, think about the size that you're going to end up with. If you're looking for color and figuring in timber, you need it when you get down to this size or the size of pens, that sort of thing. You need it to be very fine figured. It's okay having a lovely timber with a wonderful figure when it's in big form, which then gets lost when you make a small project out of it. So look for that fine detail, little tiny pippy burrs, things like some of the Australian burrs would be great. Because don't forget, it doesn't have to be a smooth surface. Metal thimbles very often will have a dimpled top just to hold the pin or the needle. So anything that's dense, anything that's hard, you'll see in a minute as we go through this process that we actually get the thimble quite thin. And like rings, the thimble size will change depending on who you're making it for. And if you're making them as stock to sell, then you have to do, or you will have to make some different sized ones because everybody's fingers are different sizes. My thick, chunky thing isn't going to be the same as a young lady's finger that's trying to use it. So think about that as well. Yes, Ben.
So a question from Michael, or he's saying that he was told that horn is more dangerous than wood as it can't be expelled from your lungs in any way. Is that true, or He would love to try it, but is the dust too fine for most filters?
Dust extraction. So if you're going to use a fine dust extractor, that'll be fine. So if you can cycle out MDF, you'll be able to cycle out horn. The thing with horn dust is it's a hooked. It's like a barbed dust. That's the reason. So yeah, you do need to be a little bit careful with it. Like anything though, any other timber or any other material is all harmful if you take it in your lungs. So we just have to be careful with everything we do.
And then a question from Turn from the Tree, and I think we're in good news for them. When you did your Viking bowl, did you use some punches?
Yes, they are in stock now. I don't know what the stock numbers are, but look, I guess search. It's not punches we've put them down. Is it? What do we call them? Stamps or something like that. I'll tell you what. Email me separately. I'll get you the direct part numbers. But what I'll also do is I'll put them up on my next live. We'll put them up in the links below, so you'll see exactly, so everybody can see then as well.
And then we've got an overwhelming vote for Antler.
Okay.
So that's cool. And then Jim B's asking where you got your antler from.
So, well, my local farm supplies is called Molehaven, but anywhere like that where you get animal feeds or a good pet store as well. So I know certainly in the UK, places like Pets at Home, they'll do antlers and horn of particular. The best horn to use if you're going to use horn would be ox horn because it's big. So it's the horn that you see the Viking drinking vessels made out of. They're big, so you've got the last little bit again is solid. You go with the smaller horns, not the goat, what do they call it? The ram's horns, that sort of thing. Then they'll be hollow right the way up to the tip. So you need something like ox horn to use. But in terms of the antler, yeah, I just went to the pet store, farm supplies, and they sell it as dog chews. All right. I had a double horn, and it was like £12. So yeah, a single horn you're going to be paying about £6-7. So they're not, not too bad. Not too bad. Right, let's do our wooden one first. I haven't got dust extraction. So what we were talking about earlier about the horn, I'm doing this one quite quickly. I'm going to use a lot of water with them as well. And of course you must use dust extraction. I wanted to get really close with the camera, so I've sort of sacrificed that for me for here. Ben's got his dust mask on, don't worry, but I've sacrificed that big dust extractor just for today. But let's start our wooden one. This is a piece of kingwood, like I say. Hi Mark, by the way, we've seen some of the comments before. Hi Mark, hi Frank as well, and the Georges and Bob P. And Wendell. We're on a little bit of a chat group going on as well at the moment. I know you're all meeting up, so hi to you guys, and hi to everybody else that's watching. Thank you for stopping by. Wasn't there a question also about some skews or some scrapers before from, who was that from?
Oh, so Fuller was asking about the single bevel skews.
Oh, the skews, scrapers. If you just let us know. We were a little bit confused because you said there's a box of scrapers and with 40-degree angles. Do you mean bevel angles or do you mean the actual profile angle? If you let us know that, we can think about it. I mean, 40-degree angle on a skew is not too bad. It's that halfway point between ultra aggressive and being almost real skew-like, sort of, nice fine cut. Yes, Ben.
So Maria's asking, what have you used to glue the blank onto your piece of wood?
Good question. So there's a couple of things here. This particular piece, I've got hot melt glue. Hot melt glue is really, really good for a fast grab. If you want the strongest grab, I would go epoxy resin. Don't use super glue. Super glue, any of those super glues, they're great. Apart from structurally, they're not a terrifically a strong glue when you're doing this sort of thing, because I'm using the tailstock to start with. I will take that away in a minute, so I need a really strong grab off the glue. In this case, I've got a piece of ply. I have had a couple of failures off a ply as it delaminates, so we've got to be a bit careful. And then when I went through a few more, I started using a bit of oak here, and this is epoxy resin on this bit actually with the oak. But this one is hot melt glue, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Hot melt glue. I like using hot melt glue because it's quick and efficient, but I like using the epoxy because of its strength as well. We're going to go fairly quick on our speed. So I'm up to about 2,000 revs. And we're just to start, we're just going to rough down to a cylinder. And then we're going to start with our first dimension. So first dimension is going to be the overall diameter. Now I've got dimensions here of 23 mil. I've written this down, by the way. 23 mil on this particular thimble, 23 mil external. I've got 18 mil internal. This is at the widest part, everybody. And then 26 mil overall. Sorry to the guys in the US. I needed to work just on one size. And when I'm dealing with these finer sizes, I can't work out the equivalent. So 26. And they're copied directly from thimbles that I used to do as an apprentice. There we are. So just going to do a little cut with a parting tool now, just to give myself an idea of where everything is. So that's the overall length. Now we're going to go do the max diameter. Looking forward to the weekend as well, everybody. I'm up to Yarnfield Park for the Association of Woodturners Great Britain. This weekend I'll be demonstrating there along with Mark, Gentleman Woodturner. We're going to be there teaming up. He's going to be my cameraman and I'm going to be demonstrating. So we've got a good weekend to come. I'll see you there, hopefully. Just cleaning up that outside. Then we're going to start the shape. Just roughing it down at the moment. Get rid of some of that waste. And then we may as well put some shape in. So I'm going to start off with a little bead. I'm not rolling it. It's a little bit too small. I'm already looking at a blur. My eyes are that bad. Let's do a couple of beads here. Yeah. Right, there we are. So I've got the little micro skew here, and I'm just going to scrape. I'm going to use this as a negative rate scraper. And because this is a lovely dense timber, it really works well. I'm going to start sanding this at a 150, but being ultra careful not to take any of that detail away. Always going to do the outside first. And I'm not going to sand yet. I'm not going to introduce heat to this bit just yet. I'll do that right at the end where we can sand the inside and the outside together. Right, that's it. Let's just stop there. Just show you where we are at the moment. Okay, so fairly basic. Nothing, you know, overcomplicated at this stage. And in fact, throughout. So let's now think about drilling. So we're going to take the tailstock away, take the tailstock off. And we're going to repeat this again on the piece of antler. But no different with the tools, really. We're going to stick with the same thing. So I'm using a pen drill here because it's got a nice flat bottom on it. I've already marked it with tape, so I know how deep I'm going. Let me just double check that. Yeah, I'm going to come a little bit shy of that, a little bit shorter. Turn it down a little bit. I'm at 2,000, like I said, for turning, but I don't want to be drilling that quick, otherwise things will start to break. Or split, rather. There we go. There we are. So we've done a lot of the work with that drill, and it was nice and quick as well. Now I'm going to go over to one of the micro box scrapers. Look, one of them, the mini box scrapers. It's the right size for this sort of project. stay there. It's a fairly short handle. However, what I want to do is just treat this fairly gently. You don't want to take a big cut off, and I'm coming in from the center to the outside. I'm going to bring my light down. Ben, tell me if it's in any of the cameras, just so I can see what I'm doing. I'm just attacking that nice, easy to cut side grain. We are already down to the bottom of the drill hole, so I'm just cleaning that up now. Right, let's just stop. I just want to have a check on the thickness. It needs to be delicate. It needs to be nice and fine. That's it. I'm happy with that. Right, we'll start sanding. So I'm going to go with just regular braces, and I'm starting from 150, and we're going to go 240, 400, 600. Don't be caught out. Put your finger up there with abrasive, because it'll probably catch you. And make sure you're also giving a bit of attention to detail. Don't lazy sand and take off all that bit of detail that you've done. It really show up easily on this sort of thing. I'm not going to sand too much onto those beads until we get closer to finishing and a finer grade. Right, I've got a little bit of stick here. Just going to help. That's going to help me get right the way into the top of the thimble. There we are, 240. There's a few things that I want to show you and want to talk about as well before we finish today. Just a few new products that we've got coming, some exciting new products that we've got in our range, including new chuck, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to have a look at one of those in a second. There we are. Now I'm going to start working on those beads in a little bit more detail. We're down to 400 grit, so it's less likely to misshape now. Yeah. Now 600. We're going to use on this one friction polish. So we'll lathe polish, wood turners polish, whatever you want to call it. Speed Knees is a good one. I'm using here the chestnut version. There we go. Right, let's just have a quick look, see what we're like. Yeah, we're good. I'm happy with that. One thing I'm not overly happy with though, so let's just address that now, is I just need to go deeper with where we're eventually going to part this off, because I just want to put a radius on there with abrasive. There we go. That's what I wanted. Let's just use the parting tool just to give a little side cut. We are going to put a few little lines in the top as well when we're done, just as decoration. There we are. Let's get in there with the 240. Ben, you got some questions there. Go for it.
Yep. I'll just scroll back up, Colwin. Sorry.
Yeah.
First question from Maria. She's asking, can you get the that little mini box scraper with a fixed handle?
Sorry, say that again.
The
with the mini box scraper
you used.
Yeah.
Can you get them with the fixed handle?
No, we do them as a set of 9, I believe, for the micro handles. Again, links below if you wanted to have a look at them, but they're not in a fixed handle.
Then Donna's asking, are you making these for collectors or is it for actual sewing use?
If I'm honest with you, I had a lovely lady contact me who collected some of the ones I made with Jeff for 40 years ago, and so I've made her 2. She's got them now, and I'm still trying to track down some Whitby Jet to do the one of them and a horn one. But I've also, if you've seen the holding image of this video, you'll see some inlaid with little flowers, and those inlaid discs I got from my apprenticeship. So again, I've had those for that amount of time, and that's what she was asking for. So luckily I had 3 left, and they have now been shipped. She should have got those today. So it was that job that spurred me on. It brought back a lot of memories for me, and I thought, well, using those materials is a nice little video. Plus, it's working small. We don't do that very often on these vids, so I thought it might be a nice little project. No, would I ever use it? No. My wife might, but no, I can't remember the last time I'd done any sewing. Probably at school.
And then Jenny's asked, she was wondering about the beading on the outside. Unless you can get it super smooth, would it not have the potential to snag on the fabric? Definitely
not. Super smooth. It's like you said. Absolutely, get everything really nice and smooth. These got to be tactile pieces. They've got to be nice to use. Yeah, same with the internal as well. It's got to be nice to use. There we are. Now we're almost there on this one. We can get to the other material. Doesn't that look lovely? Really nice bit of timber. I was about to say what lovely gifts, but I don't know whether you'll get a thank you or a clipped ear if you give this one to somebody as a gift. So all I'm doing here, I'm just going to part this off. What I don't want to do is tear anything out. So we'll part that off. So that's what we're ending up with when he clears. There we are. So that's got to be tidied up now. So what I would normally do is cut that into a tenon. However, I have one that I've made already here somewhere. A little drive dog. So we've done this before. Everybody, you see me use little friction drives. Oh, yeah. Little friction drives. This is exactly the same. What it's worth doing though, rather than just driving straight off of timber, put a little bit of tissue in. I might have to just reseat this one. A little bit of tissue will make a massive difference to the grip. So we're going to just change that profile a minute. Obviously it's all over the place. Now let's start seeing what happens here. That's good. Just a little bit of tissue. Just want a softer grab. I'm going to go with that little skew. Nice and delicate. You can't take a massive cut. No, not liking that. 2 seconds. You can't take a massive cut because it's only held on with friction. There we are. Now we're going to put a couple of little lines in the top. So let's dot the center. And I'm going to start on a 240 because it's end grain. It's finishing quite fine. So 240, then we go 400, 600.
I've got a question here, Colin, from the Sleeping Dog.
Yeah.
She's asking about when you drilled it a moment ago, and we get the little wave on the drill bit. He says he's always conscious of that kind of waving of the drill bit, thinking that he's off center somehow. But having just seen it here, does it actually matter?
No, it doesn't. I'll tell you where it does matter. If you're, say, for instance, you're drilling a big hole in a hollow form to help you out. If that goes, and and it's quite long, if that goes off too far at the bottom, then that can be a real hindrance when you're trying to hollow out. So those instances are a bit of an issue. But this sort of tiny work, no, doesn't really make any difference at all. There we are. And we have one done. So there. Say hello, Ben. There we are. So that's that one look. You can just see there from the light, those little rings. But that's a piece of kingwood. Fits my finger. I don't know what finger it goes on. That shows you how accomplished I am with darning socks. But there, one nice little thimble. We're going to do the same thing now, of course, with our antler. So you've got the process. We know what the process is like now. So we're going to repeat the same thing, but this time we're going to nurse it slightly differently. What have I done with that piece of antler? There it is. So same sort of thing. And I'm going to keep that piece. We're going to go slightly smaller with this one because it is a smaller piece anyway. I'll hold that there. It's important initially to get that tailstock working. You haven't got the luxury like timber of having everything really lovely and square and all that sort of stuff. Antler by the whole nature of what it is random. It's all different sizes, shapes, sort of thing. So this won't get finished with friction polish. I'm going to finish this just with a buffing wheel and wax. Now this has been our epoxy resin on, so I'm pretty confident in the grip. It's always a chance things could go wrong, but I'm pretty confident. Right, let's just change a couple of things here because he's being pushed back with the power of the tailstock. So I'll bring him back to the front dovetail on the chuck jaws, so that can't happen. Yeah, that's better. And we're going to rough down a little bit, and then I'm going to see exactly where I can get the thimble from. The very end is a little bit too small. And in terms of your turning, don't treat this any differently. Use the same tools. So I'm going to bowl gouge first, and we're just going to rough out the worst. And we'll stop this in a minute so you can see. Right, there we are. Let's just see what we've got, what I've got to play with. We're going to bring it back a little bit further. The taper is going to get rid of this. So I think I'm probably just going to mark this. I'm going to start the thimble right there. And hopefully we'll get rid of a lot of this then. Okay. Got a little bit further to go anyway. I'm going to go to a sharper bowl gouge. Out there, I think. Let's stop and have a look just to check, make sure we're down to solid material. Little blip there, which we can live with. Let's just get my calipers on it. So we want to be 26 long. Make a little cut with the parting tool, just so we know where we are. I'm just skew cutting with the bowl gouge now, so it's basically using the bottom wing of the skew, the bottom wing of the bowl gouge, sorry, as a skew. Right, let's now work on our detail. Yes, Ben, another question.
So I've got a few questions here, Colwin.
Excellent.
First one from Maria. Do you remember a while back you mentioned about potentially some chucks or a tool that will hold a ring, like for turning rings? Yes. Any news on that, or? Yeah, there's not a huge amount more news. We are still working on it. And we've had a few meetings and things. You know how these things go. It takes a little bit of time to get from development through to the shop floor, as it were. But yeah, we are still looking at that, Maria. I'm busy practicing, ready for the first live we do. But don't hold your breath. It won't be this side of Christmas. And then another one from Maria asking, you put rings in the top of the thimble. If you wanted to put little dimples in there instead, how would you go about that?
You'll get a little rotary tool with a little burr on it, and do exactly that, just like texturing, really. I would make it random, but I guess you could index to put them in specific places.
And then,
yeah, little rotary tool with a little burr.
And then just for try not the finished we used on the first one was a friction polish.
Yep.
What size of drill did you use, Colin? Was it the 7mm pen drill?
No, a little bit bigger. Let's get it. We'll have a look. I'm about to drill this one, so. Right, let's grab that drill now. We'll drill this one out. We've got the same depth because we measured it the same. So this particular one, it looks to me about a 10mm. And to be honest, there was no specific size. It's just looked right when I went through the drawer. So yeah, 10mm. So 3/8-ish. No difference in drilling here either. This antler drills perfectly. Just whilst I'm drilling this, Ben, would you grab the chuck? Stay 100. I think in the office. Yeah. Look how easy that drills. It's really, really nice. I'm going to turn the lathe speed down again. And antler doesn't like too much heat. It will warp on you if you get it too warm. Horn certainly doesn't. Horn will, if you think what horn is, it's just matted hair. It will singe and burn just like plastic. You've got to be a little bit careful when it comes to drilling things like that. And also, when you're sanding it, it's no different than timber. Right, there we are. We're going to pop up through the center of that one again. Let's move that back a little bit. And we'll use the same little box scraper. Just be a little bit careful with this. It's not as structurally sound as timber is. Just a little bit at a time. Like I say, that drill bit done most of the job. My finger is actually just dampening a little bit of that vibration. Just getting there now. The good thing with this, because my stance and where I am, I'm actually stood looking up the length of the piece. So you can gauge the thickness of what you're doing. It's the right angle to be in. And every time you draw that little bit more back, I'm just using the side scrape here just to get rid of any lines. And I would say if you're going to do epoxy resin, any of the alternative resins that look like either horn, tortoiseshell, ivory, it's important you treat them the same as this. A little bit at a time. Don't get them too hot. There we are. I'll just get to the bottom of the drill bit now. So I'm using, now we're at the bottom, I can use the bottom of the scraper, this flat section of the scraper, to do that final bit. Yes, Ben, we've got some questions.
Yep, so one from the gentleman Turner here. What tool would you recommend if they haven't got one of those box scrapers?
Oh, it's going to have to be a scraper of some sort. Maybe sacrifice a 1/4 inch skew, something like that. Something small enough to get up in there. Let's just double check. I get my, yeah, that's fine. I can get my little pinky in there. You got that lovely sort of pinky area that you get very often in antler, and sort of lets you know what it is. I'm going to go a little bit thinner. Just go a bit thinner instead. That's better. We'll choke that down another couple of mil. There we are. Right, that's ready. One thing I am going to do, like we did with the other thimble, I'm just going to soften that top edge. Now I'm not going to use too much pressure on the rest of the process. I can afford to just soften this top edge. Now this material, you can see how much I've got left here at the moment. That's probably about 10 mil, about 3/8. And again, the same with polyester. If you're doing one of those, don't go any smaller than that at this stage, because what will happen, it just snap. It's very fragile stuff. It doesn't like vibration either. So keep it fairly chunky here. We can always part off, we'll turn it over, all of those sorts of things. So a little bit of 150 up through the middle. Yes, Ben?
Would it be possible to have a quick demo on sharpening the box scraper? Or is that something that needs to be done on the grinder?
To do that, I need to use the grinder initially. I would probably go around about, I'd only take about 15 degrees off, so don't go too acute. Not skew-like in any way. Let me just get that little box scraper up to show you what I'm talking about. So if I just turn that off a minute, and we got closest angle that I've got there. So look, there's the box scraper. It's sharpened on its front edge and the side edge. And that is supposed to represent 90 degrees there. Okay. I would probably take 15 degrees off that. So that's giving you a 75 degree bevel angle. You can go further back. If you're finding what you're doing is really tight in its radius, you may have to come a bit further back to stop that from catching. I mean, that's probably at its extreme at the moment. What I'm doing, I wouldn't be able to go any smaller than radius. It was sort of impeding me a little bit. So just taking a little bit more back. But yeah, that's it. And I would go on the CBN preferably, and then once. And I would do that only when you have it new. From then on, my sharpening of that one is all done on the top. Because what we don't want to do, and it's the same with any of these profile tools, it would be the same with a thread chaser, the same with anything you've got a profile. You can't keep chasing this back, otherwise you'll end up here and it'll just be a square bit of bar. So it's sharpening the top with a diamond nice and fine rather than grinding back each time. All right.
And Donna's asking, does antler split like timber?
It doesn't have rings like timber does, but yes, it will if you put too much pressure on it. It can be fairly brittle. And so you put too much expansion pressure on it, yes, it would.
And Jenny's asking on the rough wall thickness.
I'm looking for around about 2 mil, 3 mil most extreme, as in most the thickest. It's got to feel delicate when you're using it. So we've got a lot coming up, a lot of lives coming up in the next couple of months. Obviously, my favourite time of year is coming. It's just around the corner, a Christmas period. But as well as Christmas-based projects, we are going to be doing a few other things. I'm going to be looking at the wood, the Easy Wood tools. We've just become UK distributor, UK supplier for Easy Wood tools, so we're going to look at those. And yes, some of you may think that conflicts my previous thoughts, but let's just explore them together. They've just come in and I want to get those out and play with them and look what's different about them. Obviously there's more chromacraft stuff coming. We're making, actually, this is going back to what Maria was saying earlier. We're always trying to come up with new centers, jaws, and anything wood turning based, because we make it here. So that's one of the reasons for talking about the chuck that I want to talk about in a moment. Brand new chuck from us, 100mm chuck, square key, exactly the same as the SK114. If anybody gets a chance to go to the AWGB this weekend, I'll be using one there. There we are. Now we're going to polish that one in a moment. In fact, we're going to polish both of them in a minute. But that is all the sanding I'm doing. That's up to 600 grit. Let's just part that one off carefully. Part this one off aggressively. You'll go right through the thing. Nice and gentle. Yeah, again, we're left with that. Now, what I'm going to do there, that's a little bit too much, really. So I'm just going to sand the bottom off. Let's just top the lathe. Pop that up there. That's my little sanding disc. Right. I think I can manage now to turn the rest of that off. Yes, Ben.
Maria's asking, could you sand the antler wet to get it a better finish?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I would just warn you about, though, Maria, if you're going to do that, it's porous. So if the piece of timber that you're using as a carrier for it, if you sand that as well and it's a dark timber, that could get sort of ingrained in the antler. So just be aware of that. Any muck will get itself in there. Okay. Right, I need my little drive dog now.
Oh, and I had a question earlier, Colin, of what jaws are you using there?
So these are the O'Donnell 1-inch OD ones. No, I use the 1.5, so 38 mils, I think it is. Use them an awful lot. But for small projects, these little 1-inch ones are great. Well, you can see they take you that much further away from the chuck. And when you're working with small projects, you need that. See what we're like. A little bit thick still, that one. Less of a taper I need. What I don't want to do is just have it gripping only down here, because if I do, then the minute I touch this, it's just going to wobble off. So I want it to be supporting, you know, a good majority of the thimble. So back to the skew. I'm going to use the skew just as a little negative scraper here. And I tend to just put these fingers down here as a safety precaution, really. If it does want to give, and they do, I saw the last one did. If it does want to give, your fingers is enough to stop it flying all over the place. It's a great thing with the jaws being fully round as opposed to cornered. The fingers, they do touch the jaws. They tend to not get dug out. Right, there we are. So a little bit of a line there. And we're going to work here with, we're going to start with 240. I'm not going to go to 150. 240, 400, and then the 6. Just be aware of your dust extraction vent when you're doing this. Make sure you've got dust extraction on, but have them high, so if the thimble does come off, it doesn't end up down the dust extractor. There we go. There we are. So we have our nice little markings on that one. Now this graying here, this is all part of the colors coming out of the antler. So there's a little bit of pink in there, a little bit of gray in there. It's really quite nice. And let's just give him a quick clean up. So just with the buffing wheel, and I'm only using a loose leaf buffing wheel here. You can put carnauba. I haven't actually got any here, but a little bit of carnauba will work. I think there's enough residue on there to do the job. If I do the wooden one first, just clean it up, add in a little bit of sparkle. There we are. There we are. So you can see there's a nice little shine on that antler now. Get them both up together. Nice little collection. There we are. So that's just taking you back a little bit further back to where I started, and the possibilities. Now we're using projects to show you what you can do. You don't have to make thimbles, for instance. If you want to do small boxes, any small turnings, the holding methods are all going to be the same. The adhesives, for instance, we've been talking about, are going to be the same. So it just gives you another way of holding things, another project to your arsenal, all of those sorts of things. So that's what we're doing. Couple of things I wanted to show you. I want to talk about EasyWood tools. We're going to be doing some demonstrations with EasyWoods, and I want to introduce you to what they are, how they work, all those sorts of things. And if you like, if you wanted to give those a go, that they'll be available. And also, what I'm really excited about are the new chucks. You've seen, if you go to our website, axminstertools.com, you'll see the SK100 in its new guise, and it's basically a small scaled down version of the SK114. Now, why is that good? Well, you know already why I like the SK114. This being the new one, this is all the same features. So it has the stainless steel, has the square key. And now for me, that square key is a real game changer on such a small chuck like this. Solid body again. And the thing that it's done for me, the reason it's become my go-to chuck now is because I can put it down on the bench. It's just an easier chuck just to pick up and go to handle all day with the small jaws, big jaws, and those sorts of things. Never going to get rid of my SK114s. I've got so many of them, and they deal with all my day-to-day turning. But when it comes to a chuck that I'm going to be using, putting in my kit bag when I travel around, it's always going to be the SK100. The other good thing about it is that they're good for benchtop lathes. They're good for big lathes like this one as well. They use the same jaws that we're using on the SK100 and the original SK100 and the 114. So you can swap things around. The square key for me is the biggie though. So have a look on our website. We've done a video for you on the making of them, and our manufacturing is literally just away across the road from us there. So have a look. You get a little insight into how things are made, and really why I keep talking about why I'm so proud to sort of represent them as well, because I've been involved along with Jason and Ben with the making and the concept. So guys, look, I'm really pleased to be live again. Pleased to have all the same faces, the old faces back, all the young faces back, and some new ones as well. Thank you, Ben, again. And what are we doing the rest of the week? I think we're doing, is it shooting balls with Jason? Or something with Jason?
Yeah, Jason's got a demo on. It escapes me at the moment.
It's Jason on Thursday, everybody. Anyway, until next time, thank you ever so much. Don't forget, I say it every single time, give us a thumbs up if you like what you see. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and just tell your friends, really. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next time.